Hey guys, this is going to be a somber video today. A lot of disappointment in terms of what's been going on recently with one team, my favorite team, the Chicago Cubs. This last really year and a half to 2 years has been filled with ups and downs. At times they look like the best team on the planet, and at other times they look like a minor league squad competing in the MLB. The fact of the matter is, and I've said it for a while, this team is bipolar, particularly the offense in general. They are a bipolar group. They go crazy, they score 12 runs, then they score 13 runs, and then to follow it up, they can't score any. And at times, it doesn't even seem to matter who they're facing in terms of who's on the mound for the other team. Not that long ago, I recall the series up in New York against the Mets. We bombed Noah Syndergaard. We hit, Victor Caratini, a couple of big bombs off of Jacob deGrom. We hit well off of Marcus Stroman. And then we played the Cincinnati Reds, and we can't hit Tyler Mahle or Tanner Mahle or whatever the fuck that guy's name was. We couldn't hit him. And to me, that's bizarre. And I think that, I looked to the World Series in 2016, so just 3-4 years ago. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these guys offensively are the same guys. It's the same names. And it's not a situation where it's like, oh, well, those guys were in their prime then, now they're not. The fact of the matter is, many of these guys are in their prime now. At that point, they weren't in their prime. They were, pre-prime, so to speak. But the fact of the matter is, this team needs to change in terms of the some of the guys. I'm not saying blow the whole thing up. This team is still a team that's going to finish with, 85, 86 wins. I'm sorry, guys, I'm sick. Sick of the Cubs fucking sucking. But, I think that certain moves have to be made. Certain things have to be addressed. And whether I agree with this decision or not, the first thing that's going to be done, and I expect it to be done potentially the day the season ends or that next Monday, the next day, Joe Maddon is going to be relieved of his duties. He's going to, or I guess not really, because he's not getting fired. He will not be re-signed. He will not be brought back to the Chicago Cubs. I'm 99.99% sure of that at this point. And I made a video a while back. I don't agree with it. I think Joe Maddon is a terrific manager. Of course, there's some decisions that I didn't agree with from time to time, particularly in the 2016 World Series. Fortunately, they worked out. But the fact of the matter is, this guy has a track record of nothing but winning, and that speaks for itself. He's a guy that I think players love to play for. I think no matter what you want to say negative about him, the fact of the matter is, when you look at his track record, it's unbelievable. He's won everywhere he's went. He's had success everywhere he's went. And particularly the last two, you think about the Rays and the Cubs, the two teams he's managed here. Two teams that, in the Rays have no budget, have no fan base, have no history of winning whatsoever, are in an unbelievable division with the monsters of the Yankees and the Red Sox. And he was able to consistently win with that organization. Got him to a World Series, which is still bizarre to me. And then he comes to the Cubs, an organization that, albeit is in Chicago in a big market, hadn't won in 100 and whatever the fuck it was when he got there. 108 ultimately when they won the World Series. And it was an organization known as the lovable losers. It was just expected that they were going to lose year in and year out. And he contributed. Holy shit, I just whistled. He contributed, though, in changing that. And, this is a guy that's going to have a statue built in his memory. This is a guy who's should be revered as the greatest manager in Chicago Cubs history, and I don't think it's even close. And, it's unfortunate the way it ended. But, and I understand him getting let go, or not being brought back, and I think he'll understand it, and he'll have other job offers within 10 minutes. Just like he, when he left Tampa Bay, immediately he's with the Cubs. It just sucks, though, because I think there's so many other issues, and there's so many other people that deserve to go before him, and the fact that he's first in line, it does suck. And I realize being a manager, it's part of kind of what you sign up for. You understand that's the way it's going to be. You can't get rid of 25 players. It's just not going to happen. And the GM and, that kind of situation, they're not getting rid of themselves. So it's just the way it works. But the fact of the matter is, and we discussed it before, the front office, which I love Theo, I love Jed. They're in a, like David Kaplan's been saying, they are in a major slump. Countless signings that have not worked. Haven't developed a goddamn pitcher since like 1974. The fact of the matter is they've had to spend all this money on on their starting rotation. or they've had to give away major prospects in lopsided trades. And, perfect example, the Jose Quintana trade, giving up Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease for arguably a fourth or fifth starter. Quintana's okay. He's decent. He ain't great. And the only reason you were forced to go get him was because of the lack of ability to develop any starting pitching. Now, people will say, oh, well, it was a great trade in one, because he's a good pitcher, which he's okay, he's solid sometimes. But his contract's great, right? The fact of the matter is I'm tired of hearing about the contract. Because at the end of the day, the contract that he has or that anyone has, that doesn't go on the field and perform. It doesn't. The contract's not out there pitching for you. The fact of the matter is the front office has made countless errors. We could go down a list here. And this isn't all second guessing. This isn't all me saying things after the fact. I may not have a recording of it, but in my mind, I'm not lying to you. In my mind, at the time that some of these moves were made, I disagree with them instantly. You can go back to when they didn't re-sign Aroldis Chapman. I disagreed with that. The fact of the matter being, people were going to say, oh, well, they didn't have the money for it. Bull fucking shit. They had the money for it. You were in the middle of a window. Yes, you had just won a World Series. Fact of the matter is, I would have done anything in my power to keep him. Because what ends up happening when you don't? Well, now we don't keep him, right? Potentially the best, at that time, the best reliever in baseball. You then have to trade Jorge Soler, who, albeit had some brief, and we're talking a guy who was 23 years old, 24 years old, had some injury problems the first few years, some leg problems, nothing major, but just minor tweaks here and there. And as far as I'm concerned, they gave up on him at 23, 24 years of age. This is a guy who was built like a Mack truck. This guy had shown flashes of being an unbelievable player. 2015 postseason, he reached base like 11 consecutive times or some shit. You could see the pieces there with this guy. And the fact of the matter is, when they gave up on him, when they traded him to Kansas City for Wade Davis, I did not like it. Not, for one, because I loved Jorge Soler and I saw the potential, but two, because Wade Davis was, again, just a one-year rental. And I thought Jorge Soler, who had 6-7 years of security, was not worth that 1 year when you could have just re-signed Aroldis Chapman, but chose not to. Then flash forward to now you have to sign Craig Kimbrell, who was about the same price tag as Aroldis Chapman. And Aroldis Chapman, you would have gotten a couple years still in his 20s, while Kimbrell's now at 31, and you're going to be 31, and you're paying for the downside of his career now. What happened to Mr. Theo saying, we want to pay for past, we want to pay for future performance, not past performance. He's kind of deviated away from that quite a bit recently, and I think some of those decisions have got himself in trouble. The Yu Darvish signing, although he looked great in the second half this year, I don't think he's worth the money. I don't. He's going to be, 34 next year? And he relies on strikeouts. He relies on velocity and movement. And that kind of stuff will diminish as you age. Jake Arrieta wasn't a great alternative, I'll agree. But at the time, I would have took Jake Arrieta. Maybe I was wrong. But the fact of the matter is, Yu Darvish was more money, more years. Jake Arrieta would have been 3 years at $90 million. Yu Darvish was 6 years at $126 million. I'd rather be stuck with a guy like Arrieta for 3 years than a guy like Darvish for 6. Fact of the matter is, I think anyone with a brain would agree with that. This last offseason, I was screaming to my friends, sign DJ LeMahieu. One of his other bad moves back when he first came to Chicago, when he acquired Ian Stewart for DJ LeMahieu, he had a chance to, rectify that by bringing him to Chicago, bringing him back to where he was drafted. He's a guy who makes consistent contact. He'd never been a big power guy, even in Colorado, until this year when he goes to the Yankees and he's damn near got 30 home runs, like everybody else in baseball. But the fact of the matter is, he was a guy who I looked at and he fit a lot of needs that the Cubs had, and they chose not to get him. They chose not to sign him. They just, in my opinion, motherfucker, get off my screen. In my opinion, they just have too many guys that are similar. I love Kyle Schwarber. I love Javi Baez. I love Chris Bryant. But a lot of these guys, they're strikeout guys. They're a lot, all or nothing type hitters. A lot of them aren't very clutch. I just think, as much as I'm in love with this team, just like Theo, the difference between us as fans and Theo I've seen is we're allowed to fall in love with players. These are the guys that were big contributors in breaking that, the 108-year curse. But the fact of the matter is, Theo can't, as the head of baseball operations, fall in love with these guys like that and just say, you know what, it doesn't matter what holes we have. The last few years, our offense, like he said last year, our offense broke. But what did he do to fix it? Signed Daniel Descalso, who was probably the worst position player in all of baseball this last season. So here I'm listing off some things. Tyler Chatwood, horrible fucking contract. At this point, he's a long reliever. He had a better year this year, but this is a guy making, I don't know what he's making, $15, $16 million a year. Really? Jason Hayward, I love the guy. He's a great outfielder. And when I say I love him, I mean as a person, and I think he's a great teammate. I think he works hard, at least from what I hear and from what I see. But the fact of the matter is he's paid like an all-star. He's not a fucking all-star. He's not even close to an all-star. He's probably the worst hitter on their team. I mean, or in terms of their eight, if you lined up their 8 starters on a daily basis, he'd at least be 7th or 8th. He's certainly not as good of a hitter as Schwarber. He's not as good of a hitter as Bryant, Baez, Rizzo, Contreras, Zobrist when he's there. Mr. Nico, who I love, or I'm going to love in the future, I believe. I get some DJ LeMahieu vibes from him, so I'm really hoping he can fill that leadoff void that they've been needing to fill for a few years, starting next year. But the front office has been in a major slump. Lots of bad acquisitions, a lot of bad trades, inability to develop any starting pitching whatsoever has come back to hurt them. You look at the Astros, you look at the Dodgers. These are organizations that 3-4 years ago were right where the Cubs were, and the difference is in the last 3-4 years they've continued to bring up top end talent through the system. The Cubs kind of peaked and they've stopped, and hopefully Nico Horner will start the new wave of guys coming up. But you got Braylon Marquez, the young phenom pitcher in the minors. Hopefully he can become their first big pitching prospect that they're able to develop. But ultimately, I'm just pretty pissed off. This October is going to be weird not being in it. First time in a long time that we're not in it. And it's going to be hard enough with that being the case, but then you throw in that the Cardinals and Brewers are in there. It just makes it worse. I don't like the Dodgers. Just sucks. And it's, I would love to come on here and scream and yell and throw a fit, but the fact of the matter is they did it to themselves. Bad decision making. No accountability for some of their players, which is one area where I will say I think Joe Maddon's a little lax on. But we knew what we were getting when we got him. He's a player's manager. He always has been. He always will be. And I think anyone, and if you go look in comment sections and stuff like that, people are trying to run him out the door. It's his fault. It's its fault. It's its fault. Fans, remember, and we've all heard this saying, and I think it's very true a lot of times, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And I think we're going to grow to really miss Joe Maddon. I don't know if the era, if this era is over or not. They could be right back next year. David Ross is rumored to be the guy who might come in as the manager. Mark Loretta, who's the bench coach this year, is another guy whose name's been thrown around. Joe Girardi's name's been thrown around. There's parts of David Ross coming that I would love. There's also parts that make me a little nervous, lack of experience. The fact that he's so close to a lot of the players, I worry about that. Is he going to be able to kind of manage his friends? I mean, I think I would struggle with that personally. I'm not saying he can't do it, but it's something that is a possibility. Yeah, but I would love to come on here and scream and yell and throw a fit, but the fact of the matter is I'm just exhausted. This team has exhausted me the last 200 baseball games? I mean, it's just up and down, up and down, up and down. And last year I was more just pissed. I was more upset, throwing things at the fucking wall, breaking shit. This year I'm just I'm accepted to what the reality of the situation. Things need to be changed. Last year wasn't a fluke. Cardinals and Brewers have caught us, passed us, and we are now left behind, and the Reds are coming too if we ain't careful. So Theo, apparently Joe's gone, or it's about to be gone. You're going to get another chance. Fix this shit, because this shit is unacceptable. The Ricketts have handed you $200 and some million to put this roster together. We can't fucking make the playoffs over the Milwaukee Brewers for the second consecutive year, whose payroll, I don't know, is $100 million less. I want you to listen to that and think about that. They spend roughly $100 million less on their roster, and they're playing in the postseason in October, and we're fucking sitting at home watching it. That's bizarre to me. And you could say injuries. Okay, fine. This year, whatever. Fact of the matter is, no, I don't even accept that, because we could have built up a 9-10 game lead before September when all the injuries happened, and then we could have rested those guys and they could have possibly been back and ready for October. But even if you don't want to use that, last year we missed the playoffs as well. So boo-hoo. Every team has injuries. Look at the Yankees, who's another team who our payroll is not that far away from. it's embarrassing. I don't want to fucking go back to the old days of being Cubs fans of feeling embarrassed. I thought we were past that. Now I'm getting kind of pissed. So I think I'm going to end the video. I'm going to watch the playoffs this October. I'm going to try to enjoy it. Root like hell for the Cardinals and Brewers to lose, particularly the Cardinals. Brewers, and to a certain degree, I respect. I still don't like them, but I respect to a certain degree what they're able to put together. And I really love Christian Yelich, so I'm disappointed he's not going to be a part of this postseason. But we'll see what happens. On one positive, I won't be stressed out this postseason. I guess that's a positive. But we'll see. I think like I said, Joe Madden will probably be gone within the next couple of days and probably have a job waiting, and he'll probably be in another position within 2 weeks. So, and probably not even that. But, I'm pissed. I'm sure a lot of Cub fans watching this are going to feel the same way. And from one pissed off Cub fan to the next, this is bullshit. Let's change it, Theo Epstein. You're getting another opportunity. The fact of the matter is, in a lot of places, look at Boston, your ass would be gone. Yes, you're great. Yes, you won the World Series for us. Like Joe Madden, you will be remembered and should have a fucking statue of you right outside the ballpark. But the fact of the matter is, thank you for that. But let's win again. And right now, you're making it harder for us with all these bad contracts and all these bad decisions. We need to fix this. There is no excuse that we should not be participating in this postseason. And as far as I'm concerned, we didn't last season either. Wild card my ass. Boo, I don't care. We weren't in a series. We were in a one-game fucking wild card, and we lost at home. Embarrassed, pukey, disgusting. I didn't hit. Whatever. Let's go. Let's fix this shit. So next year about this time, I can be getting excited for postseason baseball and not be sitting here having to root against the Cardinals to get a little enjoyment out of it. But that's all I got to say, guys. I'm going to be kind of transitioning this channel to Chicago Blackhawks talk here coming up. Well, the fucking logo is right here. I'm on the wrong spot. But yeah, that should be coming here soon. I'm going to do a season preview here in the next few days. Season gets underway next Friday, so that's what I got to look forward to now. And the Bears, but I don't know if I'll put any Bears content on this channel. But thanks, guys, for checking it out. Leave comments down below if you watch this video. And Cubs, fix it, please. Thanks, guys. I'm out.